LeBron is, he's up in Cleveland, right? I didn't know what happened to LeBron James.
Y'all don't they don't celebrate the 4th in Georgetown and Kawhi?
No, they don't. But guess what? Before the season started, I would have bet you 500 million cases of Diet Mountain Dew that Milwaukee and Phoenix would not meet in the finals, and I would have been wrong.
Yeah, Skip, you remember there was a time, man, I'm tired of Cleveland and the Warriors playing in the finals. I'm tired of that. Okay.
Now I'm weirdly fascinated by this. Here we go.
That's a really good point. Maybe we didn't predict this months ago, but right now, guys, the finals are set between the Suns and the Bucks after Milwaukee closed out its series with Atlanta on Saturday. Giannis remains day-to-day for the Bucks, while the Suns have had an extra 3 days of rest to prepare for their Eastern Conference opponent. According to Fox Bet Sportsbook, the Suns are slight favorites in the series. So, Shannon, how much of a shot do you give the Bucks if they don't have Giannis?
I give him a shot. Skip, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and I said, Skip, I think if even whomever comes out of the East, I believe the Suns would be the favorite. And so with or without Giannis, I always thought the Suns was going to be the favorite in the matchups. Obviously, it becomes a more daunting task if you don't have the best player, a two-time league MVP. Yeah, it would become an uphill climb. But I would give them a chance because Middleton, we saw what he's capable of doing, Skip. Now, he's extremely streaky. Now, we saw another 23-point third quarter, Skip. Remember the other night we saw a 20-point fourth quarter. So we know he can get it going. We see True Holiday starting to pick up his scoring. And that's the thing. When a player like a Giannis goes out, someone is going to have to get those shots. So you're going to have to divvy up the 20 shots that Giannis, 20, 25 shots Giannis normally gets. Someone else gets to divvy those up.
Yep.
Also, it forces Budenholzer. Now, Skip, I'm not saying that he's not a great an old guy, because I believe he is, obviously. But I think he's terrible at adjustments. Giannis being out forced him to play Bobby Portis because he was unwilling, for whatever reason, to play Portis.
Yep.
Portis is a 6'10" guy. He can score the basketball. He can rebound. He shoots okay threes. I still believe they shoot far too many threes. But, Skip, the task becomes even more difficult if you don't have a Giannis. If you have Giannis, I believe it's a coin flip. I would favor Suns slightly. But if you don't have Giannis, say what, he misses a game, misses 2 games, you could find yourself in the 0-2 hole. Now, do you believe the Milwaukee Bucks have the wherewithal to be down 0-2 and to beat a Phoenix team? I do not. And I know everybody, well, they beat the Nets. Yeah, with a hobble James Harden and no Kyrie, the final 5 games.
Yep.
So I don't believe that's possible, but they need to get Giannis back as soon as possible. But I would give them a chance, although it would be a very slim chance, to beat the Suns without Giannis.
So here is what I would find fascinating. I just have a sneaking suspicion that the Bucks are going to win one of these 2 Phoenix games without Giannis. Wow. And if they do, if they steal one, as they say around NBA circles, and they go home and Giannis says, you know what, I got to suck it up, I got to tough it out, I got to go, then the weight of the NBA world would be on Giannis to show that he makes them X factor better.
Right.
So that they could win the 2 games at home. Because if they go home with Giannis, and I don't know, look, it's so hard to talk about this. I don't know how hobbled he is because they're not saying what it is. They didn't say strain. They didn't say sprain. They didn't say bruise. They didn't say anything. It was a hyperextension, so it bent backwards.
Buckle back.
Did it? Usually when that happens, you have high probability of tearing a little bit of your cartilage. Is there a small tear in the cartilage? We don't know any of that.
Correct.
And they won't divulge any of that except to say he's day-to-day.
Aren't we all?
Okay, yeah, aren't we all? So I'm going to guess, for the purpose of this debate, that he will not play in Game 1. I don't know about Game 2, but it seems like Game 1 is coming too quickly for him to be ready for Game 1.
So is Game 2 on Thursday?
I think so. I mean, I didn't even look about this, but I assume they're going to go every other day, and then there might be a break until Sunday or whatever. I need to look at this. But the point is that if they do steal one of these games, it's going to make you wonder what I brought up on Friday's show. Are they playing better, more efficient, offensive basketball without Giannis? I know look, in a vacuum, it's it's preposterous to say they're better off without Giannis. And I'm the first to tell you, no, they're not in a vacuum.
Right.
I'm just eye testing what I just saw in back-to-back games, 5 and 6, against Atlanta, at Milwaukee, and then at Atlanta.
Right.
And I think it was really hard to win that game 6 at Atlanta because you know how crazy that crowd was and how it was just on the edge of their seats, at least to force it back to a game 7 at Milwaukee. So what my eye test is telling me is they have 3 guys who have made all-star teams, and all of a sudden they felt empowered, emboldened to star.
Right.
And it started with Brook Lopez, especially in game 5. But in game 6, Brook Lopez was quietly a force because he had 3 more blocks. And look at your box score. Look at the plus-minus of Brook Lopez. You ever see anything like this?
Almost doubled everybody that touched
He
the
almost
court.
doubled the whole team with a plus 25. And obviously the only Hawk with a plus was Cam Reddish, who came in and just lit it up. And I love Cam Reddish, and I wish he had been able to play a little more, a little sooner in that series. But the point is, Brook Lopez says the point differential was doing dramatic work. You know, he was having a quiet impact on that game. And we know what he did when he made 14 of 18 shots in the game 5, which was the turning point game at Milwaukee. So to me, Brook Lopez is cleared to go down low and wreak havoc down low because he's bigger than Giannis. He's at least an inch, maybe 2 inches taller than Giannis, and he's thick. He's a man.
Weighs about 40 pounds.
At least by 40, maybe 50 or 60 pounds. He's just a big man. So it gives you a more of a lane presence than Giannis can create. You know, obviously, we've seen Giannis flame out in series after playoff series because they, quote-unquote, build a wall, and there's nowhere for him to go except to shoot little mid-range jump shots, and he doesn't really have that shot. Or to drift out and shoot three-point shots.
Which they gladly accept.
Through the playoffs, he's 18% from the three-point line. Okay? And if you foul him and put him on the line, it's getting worse and worse with the chanting, and I'm sure the Phoenix Suns fans will just pick right up if Giannis plays at Phoenix. And, you know, 1, 2, 3, and quick count him, and it screws him up a little bit, and he's liable to shoot a couple of free throw air balls, which is liable to take the air and the steam and the heart out of his own team, because it's just hard to watch your MVP shooting air balls either from the free throw line or the three-point line.
Well, Skip, we talked about this is because Brook Lopez can't occupy the space that Giannis occupies. See, Brook Lopez can hang out around the three-point line and occasionally get hot from 3. Giannis can't hang out.
It's rare to get hot. He's okay. But
Giannis can't hang out there.
He cannot hang out there.
So we can't have 2 7-footers occupying the same space.
Okay. And now this brings me to Khris Middleton. Something is going on with this guy. And I had a weird incident happen on Saturday night. I'm watching Saturday early evening here. But Ernestine walks in and out of the room. I was actually in the living room watching instead of back in my little cubby hole that she makes me watch.
Oh, because you didn't have no vested interest in this one.
I didn't have a rooting interest. So this was okay. There's no jinx factor because I don't really care who wins. In fact, I was rooting for the Hawks because I kind of wanted to see a Game 7. But it wasn't like I was screaming and yelling for the Hawks. So she wanders in at the start of the third quarter, sits down, and says, you know what, just out of the blue, she says, I really like Khris Middleton. And I'm like, you what? You like Khris Middleton? Why? She said, I don't know. He just seems like a good guy. Well, I'll buy that. But she never talked. She loves the NBA, but she never talked about Khris Middleton. Because to me, he's pretty boring as a quote-unquote star. He doesn't have any rough edge to him. He's not much in post-game interviews. I don't know that much about his background, except he played at Texas A&M, is from South Carolina. But I don't know anymore. Like, I can't focus and latch on to him or get my arm around Khris Middleton.
Skip, when you talk about Khris Middleton, you think about handles. You think about a guy that can elevate like Zion. You think about a guy that can shoot like KD or shoot threes like Steph Curry. No, he
has made 2 All-Star teams.
He'd have been perfect for your Spurs.
And he would have been, but he plays perfectly in Giannis's shadow as the second star. So all of a sudden, she says that, and we're sitting there, and he comes down on the very next possession, makes the 3. Okay, and then there's a miss by the Hawks, and he comes right down, and he makes another 3. And you know what was proceeding to happen? I said, you're incredible. You're like an oracle. You're a psychic. Because he proceeds, as you pointed out, to score 23 in the third quarter, and it's a blowout. They blew them off the floor. And I know the Hawks made a great run because they went from 22 down to 6 down in the fourth quarter, but the hole got dug so deeply by Khris Middleton in the third quarter that it made me sit back and say, wait a second, something's going on here, because I saw him in Game 6 and going back to Game 3 also in Atlanta go berserk.